So what we're going to do is show you the platform. I think what you'll see is ease of use, our focus on really making sure that what we offer is based around the content, and the focus is around the content. Some of the value add that we offer is just baseline part of our product. There's no upcharges, there's no additional costs. So I think the market is really happy to see some of the new competition out there with Mnemonic, and then especially with our focus on ease of use. So with that said, we are going to show the platform, and what you will see today is the experience of an end user as well as an administrator. The experience is very much the same. I will call out a few of the administrative things as we get there. And again, as Tia mentioned, if you have questions, definitely use the chat. And we're excited to show you this. The entire former leadership team from TechStreet, which was a major player in the standards market, is now here as we help fast track the Mnemonic business, which traditionally was a regulatory business and now is really focused on being a compliance partner for standards and regs. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen, and we should be able to see the Nimonik logo. Tia, do you see that? Yes, you see that? Okay, great.
Oh, wait, I don't
So,
yes, but we can see everything.
okay, perfect. So I'm an administrator. So as an administrator, you would see all the locations, or if you only had one, you'd only see one. So you'd see everything in your entire enterprise, much like you see here. But today, we're going to make it very simple. We're just going to focus on one location. So imagine your company, public demo, and you want to get access to your standards. How do you get access? Well, I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and this is my company, Mnemonic. I would go to my registers. So that's the first thing that I'm going to call out. We take that terminology from ISO. It's part of your compliance obligations. Standards and regs are part of your compliance obligations. In other platforms, it's just your list of standards. Very simple. So you click on your register. Once you click on the register, you will see that you have a list of what's been purchased for your location. As many of you know, the licensing in this model, it's based on what publisher needs access at what locations, and then the users get access to the files that you've licensed based on that publisher. So in this case, in Ann Arbor, I would go in and I would see what has my organization purchased for me. So the first thing that I'm going to call out is search. Search is right here. As we go through our journey, we will only improve the UI and some of the different features that we have. So search is great right now. I think we'll even make it better. Right now, you can search by keyword, title, or document. I'll come back to that in a moment. So what are you seeing right now? What you're seeing is, based on Ann Arbor, these are the standards that I have access to. So we set up, by default, very generic metadata fields: document, description, publish date, modified date, publishing authority. We'll come back to this later, but pay attention to this. This is how we create, if you will, power users, project teams, people that want to drive more insight to standards besides just grabbing a PDF. We'll come back to that later. But if you can see my fingers, it's $0. It's a value add, but we'll come back to that later. But we give you the ability to edit our software, if you will, based on how you want to use it within your operations or what fields you care about. But standard out of the box, just like this. So you're sitting there as a user in Ann Arbor, and you've got access to all the files. Some people will ask, what's green mean? Green means that you've licensed that publisher across all your locations. Whether you have 1 or 20, it's telling you as a user, everybody has that. Yellow is telling you that that publisher is available only at certain locations. Well, in this case, it's available. I'm in Ann Arbor, you're good to go. Red, we allow you to monitor and search for standards, even if they're not part of your contract, and we'll alert you. Doesn't mean you can go view, print, or download, but we'll monitor them. So in some of these demos I've done a search for this file and added it to my location Ann Arbor so I can monitor it. So that's what red means. So back to search. The users are not going to sit here and scroll through every page. So you could do a search by document number. Sometimes people go, oh, you can't do lowercase? Absolutely. What do you want to do, lowercase? Let's do lowercase. Then we'll do lowercase. ISO 9001, I do a search. Oops, I made a mistake there. Let me go back there. My apologies. We'll just search for this file here. We'll just do the AMI file. What I'm trying to show you here is what happens when you go to look for a file. You can search by keyword, title, or document. In this case, we're going to look at AMI TR17. In the Nimonik platform, we are plugin free, meaning we do not use digital rights management here. For the most part, in the standards industry, the publishers do not mandate DRM. There are a few that do, like CSA, IPC, for example, and BSI. So because we don't use DRM, we take a different approach, and I'll get into that in a moment. But for the most part, you can always download your files. You can view them as a PDF. I'll come back to that in a few minutes, in just a second. But we also provide no extra cost, which the market really appreciates, one-click access to the historical documents. Now, we haven't been around long enough. We're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 versions back for every document. But we are guaranteeing that we'll at least give you one version back. And over time, we'll be adding more back files. Again, no extra cost. So if you want to view this PDF and you click View, what you should see is this AMI document pull up. You can download an HTML shortcut. You want to come back to it later. You want to download a PDF. You can do that. If you want to compare to the previous version, one-click access, and you will start to see our red line comparison with a disclaimer that we're using our own tools and our own software to create and provide these red lines. In a past life, we would work to get from the publishers. We had outside resources that would build them. It took forever. What the market is really saying is they care about these red lines for gap assessments, gap analysis. So we've taken the approach that we're going to go after it and try to provide and create as many as we can with our software. If you want to stop that comparison, you can do that. And again, this is no extra cost. We've had a few people ask recently, what's this? We have decided due to some of our own quality procedures that we're making a few changes to improve that. But soon, not only will you be able to go to the previous version, but if you want to compare this version all the way back to the 17, will allow you to jump versions. So that will be a feature that's going to be updated soon. And again, no extra cost. So before I go further, I'd like to start again and kind of reiterate, how do you get to the platform? Whether we invite users one by one and set them up, or we use SSO, which we support SSO, the users get access. They go to their list of purchase documents, and they can search by keyword, title, or document. Once they find what they want, they can click on it, and off they go to download or view. If it's a digital rights management publisher, such as CSA, BSI, and ISPI, IPC, you will own right here, instead of download, it's going to be grayed out. And it basically tells you that you need to use, you can view it, or you can use our desktop and mobile app. And that's what we do to protect this IP and protect the copyright. So to give you a better idea, because you might have missed it the first time, is what's that look like? So on the left side, we've got our app for the App Store. You've got your Windows app for your Windows Store. We have a desktop app, which I'll come back to in a moment. But if you want to view these standards on your mobile app, you can do that. So right now, I'm staring on my iPhone and I'm looking at the exact same ASTM standard on my phone. So why do we do that? One, we believe in mobile access. Frankly, there's a younger generation that's really wanting to use these apps But this is our approach to how we control the copyright. So think of it as the Kindle, right? Or think of it as Spotify, how they control the copyright and the IP within those apps. Same thing here. Okay. We also have a desktop app, which I will pull up in just a second. But I just wanted to call that out so everyone realizes that we do have mobile apps. And again, within our mobile apps, you can download, for example, BSI, you can download it just within that app, or you can go to view. So that's how we handle DRM, and it's been really well received so far. So I'm going to pause for a moment and go back to the beginning and ask Tia, do we have any questions or anything that's sticking out right now that you would like me to address?
I think we're good, Brian. You're good to keep going.
Okay. So I think everybody gets it. You can search by keyword, title, or document. It's going to search what's in your location, in this case, the public demo in Ann Arbor. I get a lot of questions about what if I want to search outside of what we've paid for? You go to the mnemonic library, and remember, we have a lot of information because we have regulatory, we have standards. But it's a powerful search system. So if you want to do a search on IPC, which is a bunch of circuit boards, bunch of good stuff, what you're seeing is red. Why is red showing up? Because it's not part of your platform. It's nothing you paid for. So what happens is there's intelligence built into the system that it says request document now. So it will send a message to our team if you're an administrator saying that the administrator of company X has requested IPC. And then within 1 to 3 days, yes, I did say 1 to 3 days. It should always be 1 to 3 days. Anything more than 1 to 3 days, something's going on. 1 to 3 days for add-on pricing from Nimonik. And if you're an end user, it will take them down a path to interact with the admin so that the administrator can decide, is it makes sense? Is it sustainable? Is it something that you want to add versus maybe a single print or PDF for a user because it's not needed in the program? But that's how you search outside. We will be making some improvements down the road where I want you to be able to search outside of your subscription within the same search parameters that you search for your site, but that will be coming. So again, if you ever want to search outside of what you have in your contract, in your access for your location, you just go to the mnemonic library, you can search, and you will see red, and then it takes you down a path. So back to the platform again. We're going to go back into some administrative stuff for a second to just give the administrators who may be on the call a better idea of some of the tools that we have. Okay. So there's some things that people will ask. General baseline tackling and blocking fundamental program or platform tools that you have to have. So how do we update people? If you're an administrator, once a week, you're going to get a digest that's going to tell you what's happening with all your locations or your location. Okay. If you're someone who wants to pull information, you can go to your external actions, what standards are, and you have the ability to pick different users and teams, just yourself, what location, and you can run your own reports. You can tie those to your calendar. You can export that, but we give you that ability to pull that information if you'd like. Okay. So we are very much focused on making sure that not only the admins get a daily digest, or excuse me, a weekly digest on Monday of everything living and breathing, but not only the admins, but the users have the ability to get this information as well. It's nothing we withhold from you. And we'll only be improving on some of this stuff as we go through our journey. The other thing that I think that the admins care about just for today is managing users. So of course we can set up your users, but if you need to invite a user on the fly, you don't have to call us. You don't have to wait on anybody in support. You can do that yourself. You see that your users are set up. You can edit them. You can suspend them, delete them. We have had some feedback that people really appreciate that in our design, we've created different levels of users. In a past life, it was very much you were an admin or an end user, and there wasn't a lot of middle ground. We've decided to be flexible in the software so that it's more of you and less of us defining how you deploy that. So that's why you see some of that there. You will also see something that I'm really proud about. This isn't rocket science. So we have a couple competitors who are watching in today, which is great. Hello, thank you for joining. Our usage reports. I was a huge fan of usage reports in my past life. I just don't believe you provide platforms like this without usage reports and without them being at your fingertips. If you have to wait for someone to get them for you, that's a problem. We will never make that a problem for you. This is at your fingertips as an administrator. Right now, it's very much the raw data. So it's not going to be pretty and graphical. We'll get there, but it's going to give you the data about what user, what location, did you download it, did you view it, did you print it? That is all there for transparency. That is also there so people like myself make sure that we focus on the long game with our customers. And the data is what solidifies a long term relationship, removing the emotion. So we're excited about that, that's there. And that's a new release that came out in the last few months. Outside of that, I think that what we want to pull up for just all the users is support. So we have a great support team. So when we launch new customers, of course, we have a customer success team that works to empower the administrators, works to train the end user community. But above and beyond that, we've got a great chatbot for support. So you can use that. You can go to our portal. You can call us. You can email us, showing you who your administrators are. Some really well done videos that we have. But that's a really nice support page that we have. Before I go farther, I'm going to ask Tia again, do we have any questions? And then I want to get into a really big thing, which is I'm surprised no one's asked. And so I held back as some people ask, how do I build my favorites list at Mnemonic? So I want to talk about that, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Anything you see, Tia?
I see a few questions, but we can get to those
Okay.
after you,
Okay.
because
Okay.
those are questions that we can just take after.
Okay. So what I'm going to do here really quickly is I want to go back to our software. I mentioned to you in the first location that I showed you that we have ability to edit our software. So if you notice, there's all kinds of fields you can add. Some of this is part of our regulatory DNA. Other parts of it is really about in the space that I came from. We did a lot of providing PDFs. You can view, you can download, you can print. What we did not do is create responsible parties, action, insight, tracing that. I'm really happy that part of the regulatory DNA has been put into this software, and it's really hitting a nerve with a lot of these standards users out there. So here is the example I'm going to show you. Same platform that you saw earlier, but what happened is here is I'm going to call it Power Users Project Team. So imagine you have a group of power users or a huge product team, and because you know the software can be altered, you want the software to have a register created for you that works differently than the standard register that everybody else uses. We can do that. So look at this software now. What you're noticing is a lot more going on now in this software. So example ASTM, here's a standard. Again, this is just raw data, demo accounts, and we'll get caught up on different fields, just trying to show you an idea of workflow. But play along. And you say we're complying now, and it's what Mary and Kevin per FDA audit said we are good and following internal procedure X. Don't worry about the spelling for now. And I hit save. See, it's complying. Who do I want to sign this to in my company? It could be an individual, could be a team of people. I digitally stamp that right there. Tracks all that stuff. You can create internal actions off of this, tasks for people to follow up. I've seen some of my clients on the regulatory side using this for certifications of transportation of dangerous goods. You can add notes as well. Why is this important? Because this is how we solve the power user, the project team, that hardcore group by creating another register and having the software act differently. So what would happen is, if you noticed right here in this demo, we can make it so that only the users that you want to have access to that register and the software working that way, they would have a second register. So that again, your 9 out of 10 users who would never need access to that type of power would never see that register. That's free. Now, if you come to me and ask me, can you build 100 of those registers? The answer is no. We don't do that many for free. But I think you get the idea. If you're a customer, and just make this easy scenario, you have one site and 50 ISO documents, and you want one of the registers to work just simple out of the box with those 5 simple metadata fields like most people want in standards, great. But you want another register built for 6 key people and open up the power of your software? Absolutely, we can do that. That's a value add, and it's a differentiator, and it really gets into that responsible party side of things. So outside of that, I think we're in a good spot. For today, I will close before we go to questions with a lot of people have been asking about our lists. We do give you the ability to create your own register, show your own list of standards, your own favorites. So I already did that just to give you a visual. Click create register. There's a couple little steps, off you go. But I did that. And as you can see here, I've got a couple standards in here that I can view and access. And then there's one here that it's not on my platform. It's red, not part of, but I wanted to monitor it. So I just wanted to visually show you that yes, as an end user, you can create your own favorites list. We will be making that process even more intuitive over time. So in closing, in terms of the demo, I will just reiterate, we have about 900 customers globally, 100 plus in the standard space, and a little over about 17 months, 16 months doing this. We're extremely proud of the 54 people we have here, 54. In a past life, we had about 70. So if you build easy to use software, people that are engaged beyond the transaction, you don't need hundreds or thousands of people to do this. And I also believe that because of the blueprint from some of our leadership, and then quite frankly, our president, Jonathan Brunn, who's actually an engineer by trade, is helping us fast track this blueprint. So we are welcome to input, we're welcome to feedback, and we're extremely grateful that many of you joined from US, Canada, and abroad. So Tia, I'll ask you to turn it over to any questions and see if we can answer these for the folks here in the last 6, 7 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. I think I'm gonna get to the questions immediately about wanting to view something on the platform first. So we have a question from Patrick here saying, could Brian show again about the 5 types of users? So if you could just show them the manage users tab.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I got chubby fingers, Patrick. Patrick, I appreciate you asking the question. I always do this. Active participation is critical in anything you do. So, Patrick, kudos to you, my friend. So, here are those right here. Account administrator can see and edit everything. A read only administrator, general users can see and edit only what they have been given access to. Restricted users can only see what they've been given access to. They can create and edit audits. They cannot create or edit different templates. We remember we have a regulatory side to us as well, and then read only as well. And those are things that, Patrick, I don't know where you're with, and this is offline, but as we start to talk to customers and do our discovery and intake, those are the kind of things we try to figure out and understand. And our customer success team works with you to make sure that the right folks are set up with the right credentials. But I think the key takeaway is, excuse me, it's way more flexibility and insight to how you want to deploy things versus what we're seeing offered in the market. So thanks, Patrick. Hopefully that answers the question and you see that there.
We have another question about the platform from Paula asking, for the customized register, are the columns customizable? For instance, if we have a working tracker, can we create that format in the customized register?
You can add custom fields within this register. I would say that we would want to probably take something like this offline, but I think the key takeaway is we're letting you customize the software. We're letting you customize some of those fields, and we have a long laundry list of fields already that you may seem or you may deem applicable already. But I think the takeaway is the answer should be yes and highly customized. And that again comes from the regulatory background, that's unique and part of the interest of why I came to Mnemonic, quite frankly, is I just saw a big play with how that regulatory DNA was being brought into our standards market.
Okay, I'm gonna get into all of the questions in a chronological order. If anybody needs to drop off at 10:30 and you feel like we're not gonna be able to get your question in or you have something else you want to ask, feel free to drop your email in. You can send it to me personally if you don't want it on the chat. I'm gonna take down your email and make sure that we get back to you on your question, even if you have to drop off at 10:30. If the others can stay, feel free to stay for an extra couple minutes to have your questions answered. So here we have a question from Kim asking, can we purchase a standard for an individual person or does it have to be purchased for a group site company-wide in order to be available via the mnemonic interface? I think this is more of like a difference between retail and subscription type of question.
Yeah, if you're just trying to support a single user, then your best option is you would go to an aggregator, hopefully Mnemonic. There's Intertech, there's the publishers, there's Acurus, but you would go and seek out just to buy a hard copy or PDF. The world that I live in is really the subscription platform where you're saying I've got multiple users and or multiple sites, and it's really about workflow, putting these at the fingertips of your user community. Um, but yeah, if you wanted, you could have a subscription for one person, but the licensing would still have to adhere to what is the location you're from, just like any other organization. My hunch is if it's truly just one person, you're probably a single PDF or hard copy just for the value.
Thanks, Brian. We have another question from Tim Arnold. It's actually from one of my accounts from the University of Texarkana. Brian.
Yep.
Brian, applications, will student end users have the ability to search this compliance library? I'd also like to add, hi Tim, nice to meet you.
Well, Brian, first of all, one heck of a name. It clearly, somebody was doing something right when you were born. Um, I think what you're asking for is he just wants the ability to search outside of the current register and search the entire library for all of our results. Yeah, that should be available to anybody, any end user. Yep, that's not anything we need to set up. That just comes in out of the package, out of the system. Now, what that said, Brian, is if one of your students or somebody of faculty does find something, it will not allow them to go down a path where obviously they just start ordering stuff for the university, right? So, yep, that's already in the platform.
The
Hopefully that
question
answers.
was from Tim Arnold, but he just said Brian to address you.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, thank
Or-
you. Well, I knew. Oh, yes,
yeah.
yes, I got confused. That was Tim, but I wanted his name to be Brian for selfish, obviously reasons. Okay, I see Kim ask about ISPE standards. So, Kim, you've just hit a nerve with me, my friend. ISPE is amazing content. I've had an amazing run with ISPE content with my pharmaceutical clients for years in a past life. We are working our tails off to try to get ISPE. In fact, a global major player in pharma is doing all they can to push for us as well. We'll see what happens. We do not have ISPE. We have 8 of the 10 or 11 biggest publishers in the standards market right now. The ones we don't have are ISPE, that really get people: AIA Aerospace, AWS, and ASME. Those are the 4 kind of bigger ones. Everything else, your IEEE, your ASTM, which, yes, we're good with ASTM, by the way, your IEEE, ISO, CSA, we've got all that. And again, that's part of our journey. And that's part of what Todd Fagan, the former president, had led TechStreet for almost 15 years. That's what he does, is he works, and in fact was just with IEEE last week, building our relationships with publishers, because we know that as we evolve our platform, if we add some of this content, I'm going to be frank, with the talent we have and some of the relationships I have in the industry, we'll be fine. We just got to add that. So, Kim, we're going to keep working on it. I would tell you that your voice to folks like PDA, CLSI, or in this case, ISPE, that you welcome opportunity to talk to other folks out there as the market's been changing a lot, goes a long way. So that's something I would suggest. But thank you. Which publishers, Pujan asked, do we have? We could get you a list. We have about 45, 46 now. So compared to an Acurus or an Intertech who's got 400 plus, not even close. But when you peel the onion, we've got 8 or 10 of the 11 biggest. We have what drives 90% of all the cost in this space outside of ASME. So we have a lion's share. But that's a discussion you would have with one of your consultants at Mnemonic about where are we at? Are we not far enough in our journey? Will we cause any operational issues? If we are, we're going to be the first ones to raise our hand because we believe in long term here. We believe in journey. And if we do that, those same people will be ready for us when we're ready, if that's a case with content or potentially technology. All right. Other questions? I
For
think we're
power,
good.
we have another one that's a
Okay.
get to. For power users, can you share a bit more about what internal actions does?
On the I just want to make sure we're not running over for your next session. I know you have a 10:30, so I just want to make sure.
I have an 11. We're good.
Oh, it's 11. Okay, cool. Sorry. So for internal actions, let me just share my screen again. And was it internal? Is that was I hearing?
Yep, it was
The
internal.
question was yes. So we allow you, because of our reg side, right, to load your own internal documentation, right? You can leverage this platform not only just for external, which we count standards, but internal as well. So that could be regulatory, that could be your own policies and procedures. So you can absolutely leverage this platform to do that as well. Absolutely. That's again part of our regulatory DNA, which was a little different than the DNA I came from, which is only standards. That type of technology is built into the platform. And you can, make connections. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. I mean, we could go into risk matrix. I mean, there's a lot you can do here. But again, the focus today is on standards. But I really appreciate that question because that's really tying in the DNA of us believing in kind of one compliance platform, if you will, for regs and standards.
We have another question from Harish asking, does the platform have the capability to summarize changes made from the redline versions?
Great question. So right now, and full transparency, red lines is just super, super important to me. It's something in a past life, Abbott, which is not a client here, and it just was Abbott Medical Optics, in fact, many, many moons ago, stressed the importance of red lines. I'm a huge fan of red lines, and that's why I love what we're doing. Our first version of our compare tool and our red lines was released early summer to meet an obligation for a major global client, and we did that. We were going to be making some more improvements to your question. The plan is, and I've talked to Jonathan, our president, about this, to in some of the next versions as we make iterative improvements to provide a summary, if you will, of those changes and why. It's efficiency. It's time to market. Pujan, that allows you to get on with your work much faster and do your assessments and analysis. So great question. That was our first pass. We will only be making improvements, and one of those is a plan summary. Great, great question. Thank you.
We have another question from Jim Burns asking, I'm our administrator. Can other users see my favorites list?
Great question. So, Jim, you're hitting a nerve, my friend. So, those list things that you sent, and I'll speak from my past life. We had lists that were built that you as a user logged in and by default you had your own list and then you search your files and it was Jim's list. Then you can make it public for everyone at Jim's company or group where you could pick folks, right? Right now, right? What's happening is you can create a list and it can be for yourself, right? You can share this stuff, but we are making some improvements so that these lists, we want it to mimic what I'm used to, which is personal, public, group. So there's some things that we'll be working on. All I can tell you without coming off too direct, I know the blueprint of what we're going to build and how we're going to build it because I did it for 22 years with 1,500 amazing companies around the world. We just need a little time. We've added the compare, the red lines, the usage reports. We've improved search. We've added CSA, API, IPC in the last year. We're going to keep going based on the leadership team we have here and our track record. we're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Give me a little bit of time on that, but you can bank on it that we know about that. And I think Jonathan, our president, may be listening. I even saw some internal stuff about this yesterday. Lists have come up a lot recently because people really like lists, but they like to make it really intuitive. We'll be making some improvements on that. And again, this is just me being straightforward about where we're at and what we're doing. And when I say that's going to be done, we're not talking a year, 2 years. It's on our list right now of work that we're doing to improve the platform. We're not going to try to be where I was at before. What we're going to try to do is be better and learn from a few of those things. So, really appreciate it. That's another great question because that tells me you're really thinking about how you use it and what's valuable. Great question, Jim. Thank you.
Awesome.
Other questions?
We have another question um, in this from Momi. In the same context, what does assessment mean? Is that just a drop down of complying, non-complying that I, as the assessor, need to choose?
Correct. Correct. So what we're doing is if you don't want to use that, for example, we don't even set that up, but what we're seeing is a project team or a power user or someone who wants to take it to the next level for traceability or internal within the organization. That's for you to choose. Absolutely. And then when you do that, you can then assign that to an individual, a group of people, right? So we're seeing a lot of our clients going, hey, I need to assign ISO 9001 to these 7 people, and they're responsible for making sure of X, Y, and Z, right? So absolutely, that's for you to pick. And that's just your tool. Yep. And again, that stuff is, to be very clear, no one gets set up with Mnemonic and all of a sudden you're like, what are these extra registers? This is in discovery, either pre-launch. I had a customer recently come back and say 3 months in, Brian, we've got this new project team that's doing a bunch of work, and there's 6 people who really want to leverage the software. They like the responsible party. Sure, we took care of it. But that's through discovery. But the fact that you're even thinking like that again is showing me that you understand that there's a way to make the software more powerful and really create some workflow and efficiencies that you may care about, but we don't want to muddy the waters for all the other users because the reality is, I hear this over and over and over again from small companies to the chief engineer at the largest engineering firm in the world. Brian, 9 out of 10 of my engineers, these standards are called out in my requirements. I need them to be easy to use. I need the updates, and I need human and kind people, preferably both. We only actually hire both here that are human and kind. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So, good question. Any
Brian,
others?
a few overlaying questions where I just think if you could explain the difference for between explaining what a simultaneous user is and if that's what's restricted, and the difference between Document Center and Mnemonic.
Great. So concurrent users, very simple, is these publishers, most, not all of them. So like ASTM, for example, does not limit by concurrent users, but for the most part, they do. So they want to know how many people are going to be logged in, viewing their content at one time. So if you have ISO and you have one seat, if someone goes in to try to download an ISO file, you're taking up a seat. The second person tries to come in, it's going to say, please, try back in a few minutes. If you are inactive after 15 minutes because you, for example, forget to log out, then Mnemonic will open up that seat so there's no bottleneck. So concurrent users is just how many can be logged in at one time view or downloading a document from a publisher. So if you have 3 publishers and one seat for each, you could have 3 people in the platform, just one looking at each publisher at the same time. So that's how concurrent user works. So Document Center, to be very clear, so people know, Document Center is a little bit of a huge part of our history. So Mnemonic was a regulatory business for about 17 years. And then about a year and a half, less than 2 years ago, Jonathan bought Document Center out of Oakland, California. A woman named Claudia Bach had started that. Now her son, Kyle, who takes that over. I actually report to Kyle. And that was the mnemonics play into standards because Document Center traditionally was doing a lot of work with small, medium sized, and then medical device, but had rights to like ASTM and ISO and IEC and all these other publishers. So because that business had the rights, Jonathan, if he bought that business, now it's about getting rights to sell a platform where multiple users can use it in a subscription or an enterprise play. So Document Center was the standards, if you will, play, and it's the standards. It's only a subsidiary of Mnemonic. Okay, and that's our standards wing. We have an online store that people used to go to Document Center. That's now been retired, and it's been redirected to Mnemonic's store. So Document Center is just part of Mnemonic. It was our standards part of our business. Okay.
Okay, Brian, I think we're going to take one last question and then we're going to end the webinar.
Okay.
Just to reiterate, if your question has not been answered and you have something that you'd specifically like more information on, feel free to drop in your email to me on personal chat and I will follow up. I'll also, as Brian is answering the question, put in both of our emails in chat to everybody. So if you'd like to type it out later, you could have both of our emails on file. We have another question from Kim. For the end user's experience of our internal library service, it would make a lot of sense to have their documents available online in the same platform, regardless if it's being purchased for one or multiple persons. They do not see or understand the difference. I would prefer if we could offer even personal copy online access through the same platform.
Yeah, Kim, I don't know enough about your scenario, but I think what I'm hearing is you really like this technology and platform, and you wish there was something like this just for like a single user type scenario, right? I kind of is what I'm feeling here. I hear you, but basically the way it works is you want this type of value where it's at your fingertips, the updates, all these tools. This is how the licensees work, and we have to adhere to what the publishers say. Otherwise, the response is if it's that valuable, you're gonna have to buy a license, or you just buy single print or hard copies or PDFs, which again are only licensed to you, the individual. They're static. They don't get updated. So, Kim, if you want to hit up Tia offline, we'd be more interested to hear your Pacific story. I don't know if it's a couple documents, a handful, but the subscription platform is truly intended. Doesn't have to be 50 locations or 1,000. It can be one, but you truly want to have multiple users where there's issues around workflow, compliance, redundant purchasing. If it's one person and you only use one document or two documents, I'm going to probably say you go to our website, you can buy the document, and we actually have a tracker service where we'll tell you when it updates. Now, you're not going to be able to go view and download it and get access like you can in the managed platform, but at least you have a way to be notified. So Kim, that might be something you want to leverage, where at least you're using a monitoring service if you are buying a one-offs. But again, if you want to take this offline, myself or someone at Mnemonic would be more than happy to hear your Pacific story and make sure we understand it. Okay? Thank you. All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. Have a great Tuesday. Stay safe. Keep using those standards, because whether you're eating chips on a plane, drinking water, have a medical device implant, they matter. Appreciate everyone.